Dave too. I just
Yeah,
between you and I, and I'll ask some questions and we'll talk and see where this goes.
that's fine.
I have no, there's no immediate issue that we're talking about. The last time I talked to you, you were, I think, fasting. You were in bed. I did the interview and you were in bed down, at your house in West End.
I'll be darned.
And I think it was about the Milner Hotel.
Yeah.
I think. I have to go back and look at that tape again.
Yeah, that was over the Milner.
Yeah.
So
You need white or anything?
No, I'm fine.
Okay.
Whenever you're ready.
Okay. Mac, let me make sure. You just had a birthday. How old are you at this point?
well, life begins at 90, and I was 2 years old. My last birthday, just December 1st, passed, which I think adds up to 92.
And at this point in time, how you feeling? How you?
Oh, I'm feeling better. I have a sciatica and I had staph infection, one thing and another, that got into my leg and hips. But it's under control. I think I maybe psychologically got it more under control. You get out and see people and get in all the activities you can, and rather than sitting around nursing. But,
on Sunday, when this is actually going to be aired, you will be honored by Xavier University and with the St. Francis Xavier Award. Now, you've received a lot of awards over your lifetime. You've been recognized by a lot of people. What does this one mean to you? Are these sorts of awards important at this point in your life?
oh, they're very important to me. I feel that Xavier, more a part of the establishment, quote, is identifying when you give this award with my civil disobedience, with going to prison, with my activities. And that didn't stop them from doing what they did. So often people think about a good thing and then they find a good reason not to do it because the public won't like it. Well, I don't know whether that's in it or not. And I've made a lot of friends in the Catholic Church, sisters, nuns, and priests. And I felt so close to the Catholic Church, many people. So this may be a kind of a confirmation. I don't think it needs that, but it really feels very good to me.
Over the years, in a lot of the efforts that you've been involved with, those have really been ecumenical in their nature. There's been people from all backgrounds and all faiths involved. And has that grown in your lifetime? Have you seen some of those old divisions between different religious groups break down?
When I came here, I don't know whether this is true that all the priests in all the parishes were told of this, but they couldn't preach, couldn't give a message or go into another church without the bishop's permission. And after 4 or 5 years, a man, my neighbor, Father Busamar, over St. Joe's, I said, well, can't you come and speak to us? And, well, he did. So that was great satisfaction that we had this kind of identity as well as the things we have in common. And I think that to a measure is just feeling better, like the walls may be tumbling down between groups.
Well, you not only about in the area of religion, but you have worked in your lifetime to get those walls to tumble down between groups on a lot of causes, on the civil rights movement, on race relations. You've been involved in a lot of those for a long time. Do you feel at this point, as you look at society today, do you feel progress has been made? Do you feel that things haven't moved very far? What's your assessment of where we are in terms of intergroup relations right now, particularly around race?
Well, I don't think they've moved very far, at least not moved far enough. And the bishop, when I went to the West Cincinnati St. Barnabas Church, they became interested. They soon talked about the black people, may use another word, they wouldn't, not totally improper, that they, 70% were black, and the white reporter said they pushed us out. Not the reporter, whoever was raising the question. That was the one person in the neighborhood. And he said they didn't. I didn't push them out, they pushed me out. And I think there's too often signs on churches which say, everybody welcome. But then in parentheses they have, except. And there's more than one way of rejecting a person. Well, I've heard some leaders say, well, they never asked me. Well, if they think they're going to get hurt more, if you're a genuine human being, which everybody is, you're not going to be hurt again. And yet that would be overlooked as if the blacks were in a separate category. That should be treated differently. All they need to be natural in all our relationships. And society has no right to say where I can live, whom I can marry, that we're all human beings. And I think in those areas there's more people thinking about that. But I still think it's a real divided society as far as power control is concerned. And that there have been breakdowns among people, but in terms of who makes the decisions, it's the people that have political power. I listened to the radio once, and somebody said that most politicians are the shadow of big business. They'll move where the big business wants them, so they can get more money in order to do the program, which may be shutting out a lot of people. And I think, though, in terms of neighborhoods, that there are more people that are getting together, realizing they have a lot in common, and that there's a growth in this area. So far as political power, with the administration at Washington and with the assent that has been given to segregation, the Milner, it was the last time I think I fasted, and I heard of two clergymen, no, I guess they're two lay people, I don't know, it doesn't matter, that are getting together to find out, or share ideas on God and what place he has. And so the man that believed in hellfire, he's talking, and he said, well, maybe God in his official capacity has to do things he would never do privately. And I thought that at that time was the city council. All 9 members, who they were at that time, you know, all 9 members voted to buy the Milner, to help tear it down, and to give money to start again. And not the Milner, but the other houses that agree with the policies that the power group wants to have supported. And often the way they get them supported is this threat of loss of income. And I think the only way to be sure you can stay away from that is to sort of live on the periphery. A lot of people now, their money, well, I used to ask people, and I do once in a while, I say, what hours do you work? Gosh, a lot of people don't work 8 hours, 5 days a week. They have other things that keep them going. And so they don't get swallowed up in the mainstream. Somebody made a study of what happened to those that were very radical in the 60s out in San Francisco. he studied 500 people, and he was to see how many were still holding to their beliefs. And he said at the last, if you allow yourself, as they have, to get in the mainstream, they're really no witness now to rights. But those who have stayed on the periphery have gotten jobs enough to keep them going, but they don't consider other things as important as trying to bring about understanding between people. It used to be that
Let me ask you a slightly different, following up on that.
yeah.
You're somebody who has stayed on the periphery. You're somebody who has stayed committed to your principles. Sometimes I'm sure it would have been easier maybe to do something else. What is it that has motivated you? What is it, where do you find strength to be who you are and who you've been over your lifetime?
Well, I never, until I came to Cincinnati in 1945, I hadn't been in any church where there was integration. And even back home as a boy, there was a black neighborhood, but I didn't know what was going on quite, didn't like it. But when you have enough people that believe as you do, as you get older, then you'll find a coalition as you get people with same ideas and concerns. And so I think it's the support of people outside. My church was totally supporting. The Community Church of Cincinnati was totally supporting everything I did. And it's like coming home after get out of prison and tell them what happened. But there was never any feeling of regret that I was involved. They didn't have that feeling of regret. And I think it has to be, well, I think about, I had cousins who were farmers living out near Monmouth, Illinois, where was my hometown then. And if you could probably jump over a 3-foot fence, you could maybe make it all right. But if there was a bull after you, you could probably make it 6 feet. And I think a lot of times people say that, well, I just am not able to do it. I can't meet a crisis. And I think that we talk about this physical adrenaline, which we, in the emergency, we had extra power. And I think there's a spiritual adrenaline. If we have done our best to what I call building inside braces to withstand the outside pressures, that then when the crisis comes, we discover that we can do and accept what we had. Before that would say we couldn't do. Then the peacemakers, that was an all-pacifist group, and they joined in the group that was formed and worked conservatory music first, and they, I didn't, while I was concerned about these issues, I didn't actually get involved or go to jail until after I had seen them and we met. So I told them if I really get broke, that I'm going to sue them for contributing to my adult delinquency. The only problem is if I won, they don't have the money to pay me anything.
You know, on that point, probably the image that most people have of you who don't know you personally is this image of someone who has resisted, a pacifist, resisted war, and refused to pay your taxes, and been brought into court over and over again for refusing to pay your taxes.
Yeah.
Looking back on that, why was that for you? Why was that an important thing to do? Why was that worth doing?
Well, I got an insight on that after I joined the Peacemakers. And Wally Nelson was one of them. And we, at our church, we would always take out the toy guns and tanks, not give to the children. And so we did that faithfully. And then one day, Wally was in the office. He said, "Mac, I see you take out all these military toys from what the kids get, but did you ever think, when you pay your income tax, that you are giving money for someone to be killed or to be killed?" And I really hadn't faced that issue until I became a part of Peacemakers. And for a long time I refused a part, that which I felt, I guess, 70% or so, that went into military things. And then I'd send that, and not anymore. But then I realized that the IRS isn't going to divide up what you send and put it where I want it. And as far as participation in the whole system, I could do it with $200 as well as you had a lot of dollars and resist. And the real purpose when you get down to it is because in conscience you can't do. I think there's one set of moral laws, and we don't live in a dual-verse where you have one set of moral laws for one group and another for another. That this is a universe, and that we should require the same standards of inclusiveness of everybody, and just resist this idea of, there's so much separation. See, I've been amazed that, of course, it's terrible, the thing that happened in Oklahoma City, and there was a great resistance to that. I mean, not concern about it. And yet, the government, who was making a great protest against this, they're the ones that finance the wars. They're afraid of killing 157 people, which is terrible, but it doesn't seem that it goes over national boundaries. It is between states. And I've had that feeling. I thought if I would take a child in the neighborhood and pour gasoline on the child and send a match to him, it's horrible to think of it, what might be done to me. And I can understand it, of course, but these same people are so compartmentalized that they don't apply it to seeing children in Vietnam, their families, homes being burned, and children living torches from our napalm, running around. Yet they can accept that, or they don't. Well, that's something I really can't understand.
You've devoted much of your adult life to that cause and helped trying to get people to see the universality of people. Do you think at this point that, as you called it, the power structure sees your point any better now than they did in 1950 or 1968, or have things improved at all, or is this just something that people like you will always have to fight?
Well, I don't think that it has made much difference, if any, in the group that's in control. And the people that are close and we share our ideas and convictions, that there has been more inclusiveness in getting people into these peace groups. And at the same time, they don't see the low-income people as a financial threat. And then they'll do anything to continue having a salary. I say they, I never like to use a word that seems inclusive or generalizing about anybody. Everyone has a conscience and they must follow it. But we need to be as sure as we can that we're following the right thing. I read a book by Howard Brinton, who wrote a history of the Quaker movement. And he was talking about the importance of following conscience, whatever the cost. And he said, you may not succeed. The thing that you're working for may not happen. Well, you made a mistake. You can't blame yourself. Nobody can blame you for a mistake now and then. But he said he felt that being inconsistently good was better than being consistently bad, which I think is a real point. I know that Marion Bromley, who's been very active in the peace movement, of course, died a while back. Somebody asked her, well, Marion, how's it come that you can take all this flack and are still right and you're so approachable and with people? And she said, well, who wants to be on the other side? If we're really living, we need to take a side and need to, as best we can, feel that it's the right side. And not to say that everybody that doesn't agree with me is wrong. I think we need to be on the search for truth. And I've been, all these recent years, have been concerned about the exclusiveness of denominations. To think they can't give us communion unless we're members of that church. I mean, there's a lot of that. And so I was at a funeral with Dr. I don't remember his name.
That's all right.
Yeah.
Yeah. That search for truth, I mean, I think that really, now I know you're only, since life begins at 90 and you're only 2 years old,
That's right.
I don't want to ask a improper question here.
Ask any question you want.
But how do you hope that you'll be remembered?
Well, my hope is not that I be remembered, but that those with me in the movement be remembered. And this will have done so much of it, brought about so much change, that what change is going to be remembered. I think there's a great danger in personalizing a movement. I know Miles Horton, Highlander Folk School, was terribly afraid of people looking to him, had to get the last word. And he said the strength comes from people. And you need to feel that they're making, you couldn't do anything if it weren't for friends that you have. And I remember once there was some kind of a demonstration downtown, and there were a number carrying signs, so I got a sign and started carrying it, and then somebody, one of the papers, that says I was leading a protest. I wasn't leading it, I joined in it. And I do feel that often the people that are really the heart of a movement, who give more time and more effort, are as much or more often a part of changing. And if we can just resist the fear of our neighbors, I think often we are afraid even of what they think about us, rather than realizing that a lot of what we believe, they may believe, that they may be just glad to find somebody who agrees with them on more radical issues. And I think that's one reason that there hasn't been more progress in the large denominations, or certainly not like, well, there's certain groups I wouldn't include, but by and large, that they haven't taken a stand because they fear. But the people may not have gotten any word of some of the letters that a minister gets, that he just doesn't want his people to engage in, so he can sit on it. And then everything out of somewhere, if we could get these letters of caring about all of humanity and that one person is important as another, that this would bring more change. Because often the people will revere the minister, and they wouldn't raise a question about it. But that's just not fairness. There's a lot of bureaucracy in all phases.
One last question, because I don't want to, and we could talk a long time, but one last question. For people who don't know you personally, some of us over the years have been on some of those demonstrations with you and have had an occasion to get to know you a little bit. But a lot of people out there don't know you personally. What is it that you think would most surprise those people for whom what they really think they know about you is fasting, not paying your taxes, being carried into court? What do you think is the part of you that they don't know about?
Well, I think they carry with their thinking, and they feel that this truth is established the other way, and that I'm doing wrong. Well, he's a nice guy, I guess, but he's just making trouble. And there are others who believe in what we've been doing, but don't want to become a part of it. And unless the population, many become a unity on these questions and pick it as they did in the 60s, you're not going to have a change. I think you have to precede this with an upcry from the people. The drop-in center was trying to get $50,000 more for a project that they had. So they were having a hearing at the city council, and the vote apparently was for not giving them money. And we heard about it. We came down just at that same time, and we joined hands and sang a traditional and yet still Bible song, "We Shall Overcome." And then Bonnie Newmeyer led us going up the steps singing these freedom songs. And then when we got in the door, I forget who it was, said, "We'll have to conclude the meeting unless you stop." Well, we all stopped. But later than that, there was one of the councilmen who was asked to speak in McConnell's place one day, well, soon after that, and take the hour and what he wanted to do with it. And he was glad to accept. First of all, he spent most of his time taking after Buddy. And then he said, we thought that we had this supported not to give them any more money. But hundreds of people came to protest. Hundreds, 60, 70, maybe. And one person never should feel that, well, what I do doesn't matter. We support on all levels. Some of us may feel that we can't commit civil disobedience. Well, that's the choice of the person. And it's not my role to say, oh, come on, we need you. You present the truth as you feel it, and if it's accepted, fine. Because to me, it's much better. This is what Miles Horton always followed, is to discuss issues with people so they become convinced, and that then they say what they believe in and maybe what you're talking about before. But otherwise, if you just get into an argument and they're afraid of, you're confronted with, why don't you do the right thing? Well, who's to say what the right thing is? And what the right thing for an individual is something that they thought through. I like what the Dalai Lama said on a couple of occasions. I think he would say this in all the meetings that hold it. He said that the religion is kindness. Kindness is religion. And then you begin to study that. Well, a lot of things have been done by the religious people, the Inquisition, the Crusades. Well, sincerity isn't enough. You should be right in what you're doing. And I think that unless different religious groups, I think that is what he was thinking about, unless they don't attack
Because Wallace Collett is somebody I know.
Yeah, I knew him
He's
well.
one of my-
I really admired him.
I do too.
He was one of the ones that got the communist charge early in city government.
Right.
Was he city manager then?
No.
Well, anyway, he was
Oh, I know.
he was pointed out.
Yeah, he's now in Philadelphia.
Yeah.
And I haven't seen him for a number of years, but
Well, Wally and Juanita and Marion Bromley and Ernest Bromley were very close with their friendship and with their ideas. The Peacemaker met the third Saturday of every month to print it's printed but to fold and the address the Peacemaker paper, which went so wrong. And my father and mother here, they wouldn't so much touch their child's finger on the stove, let alone just burn forever, torture them, you know. That's what's been done to groups. I think here again comes that we live in the universe, and we should be kind and loving to everybody. And if that doesn't pass the test, well, we aren't. And I don't know whether you know John Henry Simmons. He's a great person, and he's a member of the church and had a real experience when one of the people of the South had become acquainted with his foe, May Bertha Carter. And he came to church that day. And when she was talking and telling about what her family had done, John Henry said, "And what am I doing?" So he was in drugs and in alcohol, and he went cold turkey, he just stopped these. And then he formed this Be Kind, boosting everyone's knowledge, integrity, dignity. Let's see, boosting everyone's knowledge, integrity, nobility, and dignity.
nobility and, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Knowledge, integrity, I see.
Yeah.
Kind, K-I-N-D, yeah.
And this organization is growing, and I think I'll tell him on Sunday that he might even be there and be wearing a Be Kind hat, so that the others approach him to see who it is. But,
Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to pretend I'm asking you questions, but you don't have to answer anymore.
all right.
I just need to get these on tape. I'm sort of going back over some of the things. What do you think? We ready? All right. I may fumble around with these and
Just keep going.
Okay.
I'll just keep rolling. I'll tape.
Mac, Xavier University is giving you this St. Francis Xavier Award this Sunday. Is that important to you? Is these sorts of awards important to you? Yeah, you've already answered it. You don't have to answer it. Okay, that's just so it's on tape. All right, let's see now. Let's see. You've worked a lot over the years to heal divisions between people, particularly different racial groups. Do you think things have improved in your lifetime, or are we still facing the same problems? Okay. Let me see. Okay. You talk about living on the periphery and the importance of that. How do you maintain that over a lifetime, and where do you find the strength to live on the periphery? Okay. That gets you into talking about the church. All right. Probably what most people know about you is that you don't pay your taxes, that you're opposed to war, and that you stand up for those sorts of things. Do you think things have really changed? Have your actions over the years changed things, or is this something that all of us are going to have to just continue working on? All right. Let's see. I think I might just ask this in a slightly different way. Have all these efforts that you've put out over your years here in Cincinnati, Have they made a difference, or will things just have to continue? Let me ask that again. Have all these efforts that you've been working on over your lifetime here in Cincinnati, has it really changed things, or will other people have to follow after you and continue to work on these?
I feel like answer these.
And let's see. Let's see. What did you? Okay, I got two more. If you were. Well, you've worked with a lot of people over the years, and let's see. That's. I'm going to ask the easy one first here. What is it that people who've only seen you on television or read about you in the newspaper, what is it that they don't know about you that they maybe should know? And then last one is, what is the core thing after all of these specific issues, the search for civil rights, the search for peace, what is it that is essential? What is the essential search that you have been on? And that sets up that question on the search, your point about the search for truth. Okay.
I think that's something with the big council once in a while when we were there. They would speak of me as the conscience of Cincinnati. I remember Dorothy Day who said that
That's all right. You'll pick it up.
yeah, that Dorothy Day was asked or told she ought to be the saint. And she said, I'm not going to let you off that easy. And I certainly can't find, while they called us by name, what has City Council done recently at all? They supported other things in the back history, but in this way it seems that the council is more disorganized or at odds within itself. And that's sad. Not only sad, but it can be hurt people a great deal. I think the city council should represent the people who are poor and low income. Do this, but they don't have to represent the people in power all the time. They have the money, they can get along. Or they got the money to run away when the pressure gets too hot. But poor people don't. They're sitting ducks for when people want to justify what they've done, when deep down I think they know it's wrong.
Okay.